The other concern for many Brits, having heard what from the US ambassador over the weekend, the question of the NHS possibly be on the table, agriculture, this whole idea of chlorinated chicken as well, and the UK may have to be bound to these rules, is the fact that the US and under President Trump will push for a very harsh, very tough trade deal.
I think the UK should expect it. This president benefits when the UK is acting alone as opposed to part of a bloc, right? And so I would not assume if I'm sitting in the UK government that a US-UK trade deal is going to end up with the UK in a better position. I think they lose a lot of their leverage because they're acting in isolation as opposed to part of the European Union.
Yeah, so you push a tough bargain like you would expect any leader to do, but clearly peeling the UK from the European Union benefits the United States long term.
Well, I think it benefits in the short term, certainly. Yeah. There are real long-term questions here, ultimately, that the president, I think, is ignoring because he's looking for short-term wins. But ultimately, again, if I'm in the UK government, I would approach this trade deal with some caution, with some trepidation. I'd also keep my eye on where the US Congress is going to be. Ultimately, Congress has to approve it, and the president is in a very bad state with especially the Democrats in the House.
We heard what Hadass says in terms of the numbers, but what President Trump said over the weekend with the Sunday Times article, we have tremendous potential to make up more than the difference. One of the advantages of Brexit is the fact that now you can deal with the #1 country by far. The numbers don't show that. In fact, you need the EU.
Right. This is, again, the president's rhetoric over reality. And we see this time and again. He puts forward ideas that are not substantiated by the evidence.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, if you're sitting in the UK, you need to figure out what his long-term goal ultimately is. And again, be careful, because I don't think that he's ultimately looking to the benefit of both countries.
Yeah, and then on that point, Amy, you know, post-Brexit Britain wants, although it's leaving the European Union, it wants to be a global Britain. Is that even possible with an isolationist President Trump?
I think it's highly problematic. The UK's strength, its leverage with the US, has always been its entry into the European Union. It's the US's closest ally when it comes to things like intelligence sharing, defense, strategic planning, etc.
Yeah.
And so it loses some leverage by stepping away from the EU, and therefore loses some of its importance to the US relationship.